Yeah, so you were saying all dogs and cats should be murdered, and nobody should be allowed to keep pets, even if they're like rescued.
Sort of. Well, how about I just make a claim and you can let me know if you disagree?
Sure.
Okay, so what I would say is that better than what we have now would be if the government could, you're in Canada, I'm in the US. Let's say in Canada and the US, the government could say it's illegal to own cats and dogs, completely illegal. And also, what we're going to do is we're going to take every single cat and dog and euthanize them. I would say that is clearly better than what we have now. But I would probably agree with you that there are other things we could do in between that, sorry, better than that.
I don't know if that would necessarily be better. I suppose it would because of the amount of dog food and crap being made that's non-vegan.
Yeah,
But you can keep these animals with vegan food.
yeah,
Why
yeah.
wouldn't you just like if you're talking about legislative changes? I think it'd be a lot fucking easier to convince people to, or to just outright ban animal-based dog and cat food, than to tell everybody to kill their fucking companion animals, like their actual family members.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's an emotional element that'll make people do the wrong thing, and they'll keep the animal because they feel connected to it. But I would just say that due to the fact of your average cat, your average dog is not going to eat vegan food unless they're made to, and so the amount of animals having to be killed to feed these animals, it would be so much better just to euthanize them. The thing better than that would be something like if we outlaw pet ownership and then we spay and neuter every single one of them and put them on a giant government funded sanctuary. But that seems complicated as well.
Why would a sanctuary be preferable?
To people just owning them and hoping they don't breed them because you can't trust that they won't breed them.
Yeah, well, again, if like if you're talking about legislative changes that are easier to pass, it's a fuckload lot easier to pass a legislative change banning animal-based cat and dog food than to like force every cat and dog to be euthanized. Like you wouldn't
Yeah.
even be able to enforce that law. There's not a cop on the fucking planet that would help you
Yeah.
enforce that law.
Yeah, so what I was referring to was just what would be better. I was talking philosophically. As far as choosing what's better to go for with laws, I think it's what we talked about last time, which is my softer approach to sharing veganism. But if we're just talking about what's right and wrong, I'm just pointing out that it seems way more right to do this than what we're currently doing.
Okay. Versus what we have now, you'd probably save more animal lives euthanizing every cat and dog.
Hmm.
But again, if you're talking about legislative changes and what would I would say is morally preferable, just ban all animal-based cat and dog food.
I would say so too, except what do you think about this? A concern I have is the well-being of the animal. So I'm not on the same side as you as far as taking out predators, although it's complicated, and I see your side. But if we own the animal, therefore we have to kill the food they eat. I'm against that. But I'm also against having an animal that's designed to eat something specific. And if we give them food that makes their quality of life less, I almost feel like it's better to do away with the domesticated animal we created, the
Okay,
species
so
itself.
would you rather be murdered than, I don't know, live off of potatoes? Like, let's say
Well,
you needed a variety of foods to be optimally healthy. Would
well,
you rather be murdered?
well, I would rather not be a domesticated thing. I'd rather not be something that was
Yeah, right.
created.
So, would you rather be murdered or be fed nothing but potatoes?
I personally would rather be. Well, am I being fed by somebody that owns me, that locks me up in a
Yes,
house?
sure.
There's a good chance I'd rather be dead.
Okay. Assuming these animals would rather be alive,
Assuming,
do you
okay.
think they would choose diet that's not ideal versus getting murdered?
Ooh. I don't know. As far as choosing, I don't think even if we gave them the ability to talk, they'd be able to understand what murder or existing is. But do you not think that there is a level of suffering that an animal might not understand, that it might be better off for it not to exist? Like, say something that can't breathe well, like pugs, or something that was bred by humans and has a pretty shitty life.
Well, there are people who have pretty shitty lives and they choose to keep on living. There are cancer patients who are slowly dying and they don't choose to be euthanized. There are
But is
people who do have breathing problems their entire lives, where their muscular system is so fucked, even their lungs start failing, and they have to be put on breathing apparatuses. There's people who are being exposed to, what's the fucking insulating thing that was banned? It's an insulator. It's a mineral, asbestos, and they
Okay.
end up getting mesothelioma, and they have to be on oxygen, like, and they keep on living.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so
like,
humans, I think humans are really complicated because, for one, certain humans, like especially like quadriplegics or people that have cancer to certain degrees, do rather die, and that's why we have the topic of assisted suicide. But yeah, humans have this ability to. With innovation, we've figured out ways to stay alive even with cancer. So we have loved ones and all these different things, where an animal, it's hard to know for sure. Do they care that we've removed their uterus, removed their testicles? It's hard to know if they have any care about this natural thing we removed from them. But them alone being locked up in a house with us, I don't know to what level I would feel like we've reached a point where death would be better.
yeah. So if we're talking about animals specifically and whether or not they have like a will to live, I mean, coyotes will chew their arms off if they get stuck in something so that they can get away and survive.
Yeah, there's definitely a desire to not die, just the instinct to stay alive. But to
Right, and
know
I
what
mean,
existence is kind of
have you
complicated.
ever owned pets?
Yeah, I have 3 rescue guinea pigs right now. I'm not in
Yeah,
favor of
like,
doing
I
it, but I
mean,
have it.
you can kind of tell when they're happy or sad, especially dogs. They're extremely expressive.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I
Especially
don't
dogs for
think,
sure.
I don't think my dog Finn or Mai or Faye would rather be dead.
Yeah, and I'm guessing you're a good pet owner. I know other ones that probably are. And if I could just remove all the suffering animals and all the possibilities of breeding in the future, I would. But I would say it's probably worth it to sacrifice your ability to own Finn. Did you say? And some other ones,
Well, I would have
if
to murder
overall.
Finn. If overall, I'd have to murder Finn
Yeah.
to stop all the suffering that animals may be going through.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just depends on like
Okay.
the overall good, I guess.
Okay.
I don't think you should
So
have to do it personally, but
Okay, so if a child has a similar level of constraint as these animals, do you think we should kill children?
a similar. Well, can you give me an example?
Well, I mean children, like 3, 4, 5-year-old children. Actually, like if we're talking about infants, they certainly have a lower degree of freedom
Just
than
'cause
a
they're
dog or a
restrained?
cat. So
Yeah,
should
I
we
mean,
kill children?
no, I mean, it makes perfect sense to have the members of our own species that are our offspring or the ones that need taken care of be taken care of. That makes sense.
Well, why? I don't see the symmetry breaker here. So they don't have an ability to express whether or not they're suffering and whether or not the situation they're currently in is worth living through, or any future situation they're in is worth living through, just like an animal. So why don't we just kill children?
Because they are our own species. They're our offspring.
Okay, so we get to decide whether or not.
So, hold on. Sorry. Can I fix my answer? I was wrong. We don't kill the children because we have a setup in our government that we want to feel protected. So we have a rule that you can't kill other humans. That's the actual
Okay,
answer.
do you think like maybe animals want to be protected?
I have no clue.
You don't know if animals want to be protected.
Want to be protected? Like they want another species to come in to protect them, as in if a panda had a broken leg and a documentary film crew is out there, does that panda want the humans to take it to a vet? I can't answer that. No? They
I'd
can't think to
say
that level.
absolutely. The panda might not be able to conceptualize what a doctor is or what these people are doing, but I'd say absolutely. If they could understand that the person's, and by the way, there are animals that are intelligent enough to recognize if a person's helping them.
Yeah.
Like
So,
I've seen birds get trapped in like cages where there's like something stuck in their wing,
yeah.
and they actually will go to a person to try to get them to pull it out, and then they pull it out, and they might even show gratitude and like bring them shiny things.
Gotcha. Well, I'll say this: if because we are capable of it, and we have the morality of it, if we find an animal that needs help, helping it is fine as long as it can go back to its natural habitat. If helping it means that if it was released, it would be killed off because I don't fully understand why that happens in nature, then I would say it might be worth us putting it out of its misery, like as if we found a dying bird or something.
Okay.
But putting it in captivity because we're claiming we're helping it, I don't think there's any way for us to know.
So because you don't know if an animal would prefer to die or live in captivity, you think it's okay to murder it.
Is it okay to murder? I think it would be putting it out of its misery if we are
Well, you
aware.
could call it a mercy killing,
Sure.
if you want to use that, but you think
Well,
because
murder's
you don't know.
Yeah, so murder's a legal term, so killing's probably the better approach. But not that that matters. But yes, I would say that since we don't know, we shouldn't keep it captive, and therefore, if we can't
Okay.
fix it and release it, then putting it out of its misery is better than letting it suffer to death, I think. Well, what do you think? If out of those two options, if you found a dying a panda with a broken leg or something, and you could either put it out of its misery or leave it with a 50-50 shot, I don't know if that would be the odds of it figuring out how to heal itself. I don't know when it's best to put an animal
Well,
out of its
if I
misery.
could help a panda and there was a 50-50 shot of it living and it could live in captivity, I'd absolutely do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I'm not in favor of that because I don't think we should keep an animal captive or even a human captive other
Okay,
than our own
so
children.
if there was, say, a baby that you found in the woods and you were the only person around that could help it, would it be
Okay.
better to leave the baby there to get eaten by wolves? You shoot it in the head with a rifle or whatever you have, or smash it in the head with a rock. Or you could have it live in captivity in your home or apartment.
Well, the captivity is tricky. So I personally would probably take care of it. And then when it reached adulthood, it would be on its own. So it wouldn't be in captivity. But what I would say is if I was out in nature, not away from laws, and I saw an adult human kill an adult human, I would kill that adult that killed another adult. But if I saw an adult human kill a child because they couldn't feed it, I would not see the problem there.
Okay, so the differentiation here is like the child could grow up to be an adult and make the decision where an animal can't.
Correct, because the animal can't communicate. If an animal could communicate in a reasonable
if you found
way.
a mentally disabled person running around in the woods, and the only way to ensure that it would be okay and live like a decent life would be to, quote unquote, keep it in captivity, you wouldn't be able to let him go out on his own because he gets lost and probably get eaten by wolves or something. Would you just kill the mentally disabled person?
Now, am I from a society that went to nature, or we're talking no society whatsoever, no laws for my citizenship?
Let's say no laws.
Yeah,
And you could either let him get ripped apart by wolves, shoot him in the head, or you could help him.
I might attempt to help, but I'm going to guess, depending on my needs and my family's needs, I'd probably do a mercy killing.
Okay. If I personally had no interest in helping a person or an animal, I just would decide not to help. I wouldn't intervene because I wouldn't be able to know whether that animal wants to keep on living and struggle to survive or that human. So I'm not going to intervene on the basis of I could be violating that creature's rights. If I did have an interest in intervening, I sure as fuck wouldn't murder. I would just help.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you're talking about no laws. So if we had society, I would encourage laws in certain cases, like laws against killing animals to eat them. But outside of a society, it would be hard to say, oh, you're rescuing this animal and you're going to keep it in your house. Should I kill you or steal your animal and let it go? If you were killing an animal to eat it, should I kill you? It's complicated when you're in nature, which is why I would try to force or sorry, I'd try to convince people to start a society. But yeah, you're right. I wouldn't try to force. Maybe with the horse riding thing, if I saw somebody take a horse from nature, put it in captivity because they had a big piece of land with a big fence, I might try to kidnap that horse or horse snap that horse and put it back to nature.
The issue here is your idea with domesticated animals, and you think they should all just be um, euthanized as opposed to like just mandating that they all have to eat a vegan diet, right?
Um, I'm not sure. I'd never thought that one through. If I looked at the studies and I felt confident that an animal doesn't decrease their health by a drastic amount, like I'm guessing you would say that even though on a vegan diet a cat might still want to live, what would you say if an owner wanted to cut off 3 of its legs and it could keep it alive for 10 years? Would would its level of suffering be at such a level that you would say it's time to euthanize, or should we let that guy keep his cat alive for 10 years with only one leg?
Wait, go over that hypothetical again. You're
Yeah, like
saying the guy.
so a guy has a cat. He has his own cat. It has 4 legs.
Sure.
It's perfectly healthy. He's a doctor of sorts, so he can cut off 3 legs of this cat and heal it up. And then he just wants this cat to sit there, and he's going to fatten it up and play with it, rub its belly. But he's going to keep it alive. Would you say that I'm trying to find a level of when you think a living cat or dog, domesticated animal, would be better off put out of its misery? And I don't know if that's the. Anyways, yeah.
Well, I'm not sure, and we have these issues with human beings as well. There are people who have horrible accidents, are put in comas and shit. You'll find plenty of people who fought in wars where like their buddies get blown to bits, and they have to decide like whether or not they're gonna try to save them or just do a mercy killing. Like,
Yeah, but we can
I
communicate
don't
with
know,
humans.
like, I don't know, and especially if I don't know the animal, I'm not sure. Like, Finn is an extremely sort of social dog, and he loves people, and if he only had one leg, he'd probably still want to live if he could just still hang out with us, get picked up, cuddled with. But like, there's other animals that I'm sure are less sociable, and they want to be able to run around and shit. Where that may not be a good enough quality of life for them. It would be entirely individual. But I'm not convinced that the average dog or cat would prefer to die over staying in captivity.
Okay, so if that's the case, then what would you have against people breeding cats and dogs and keeping those?
Well, it's exploitative. It is a rights violation.
Oh, okay. So that one's exploitative, but since it hasn't happened, we should put a stop to it. But the ones that already exist, that's
Yeah.
exploitative, but it's better than death.
Well, if you just happen to have a pet, regardless of circumstances, that in and of itself isn't the exploitation part. The exploitation part is when they get bred for profit or for, I don't know,
Wait, you don't think
personal amusement or
you don't
something.
think owning a pet, no matter what the reasoning is you don't think it's
Not
exploitation?
in and of itself is exploitative.
If you somehow don't get any joy from it.
Well, no, what I'm saying is pet ownership in and of itself is not exploitative. Now, if you were to, I don't know, buy a pet because you wanted to, I don't know, ride it, like in the circumstance of a horse. If you bought a dog because you're lonely and you just want like a friend, that's exploitative. But if you're just rescuing an animal from like a shelter, I wouldn't say that's exploitative. You may have an
Gotcha.
interest in having a pet and you like it, but I wouldn't say that's exploitative if the interest of the animal's in mind.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'm curious of your answer of this then. I watched a video by the Cranky Vegan, and I like him. His stuff is really good. But he raises money to send to different projects, and he raised a few $1,000s to send to this place that rescued thousands of stray cats. Do you think that there's a problem with this because sending this money is going to mean that they're going to purchase typical cat food, raising and killing animals to feed other animals? Would it be
Yeah.
better if they're not going to feed it a vegan diet to put it out to euthanize them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if we can force the vegan
By
diet,
the way,
let's do
Cranky
it.
Vegan is a lying, dishonest piece of crap.
Okay.
I'm
I'm
even
not
sure
too
if he's
familiar.
vegan.
Oh, interesting.
If he's supporting like a cat rescue where they're just ultimately basically going to go to homes where they're being fed meat, no, I don't know how you could do that as a vegan.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Okay, I mean, I think we're mostly on the same page as long as you're right that cats can be healthy on a vegan diet with the taurine added. I haven't researched it, but I would
Yeah,
say
so the available research right now shows that cats being fed a vegan diet on average actually live slightly longer, if anything, and they have less health problems throughout their
Really?
life.
okay.
It's probably mainly due to vegan pet owners taking better care of their animals. So they're going to watch their weight, make sure they get enough exercise and enrichment, stuff like that. Whereas, typical owners who eat meat and shit, they're probably less likely concerned, and you're going to see like higher rates of obesity. In fact, you do see that. Vegan cat owners and dog owners have lower levels of obesity in their animals, and they also get more exercise. So that's likely the biggest differentiating factor, but there's probably a minor benefit to them eating plant-based food. They aren't getting weird shit like plastics mixed into their food, at least not nearly as often. And on top of that, some of these dog and cat foods are pretty high in saturated fat and cholesterol, which isn't good for them.
Gotcha. Okay, well, you might convince me on this one. I'll research it and hopefully I'll find out. Do you care if I ask you a quick question before we get out of here?
Yeah, no problem.